have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait till next year we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how do you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
Welcome back to another edition of the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, powered by Fantasy Points Media Group. This is episode 99, kind of officially on the books. There may be more episodes, I'm not too sure, but since I started keeping track, we are on number 99. Major's got a little bit of a blackout situation going on, but he'll be with us momentarily. And with us always, Tera, Big Time Roberts. Anywhere you see the word fantasy, I guarantee you're going to see Tera Roberts there. Tera, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm sick. My voice is shot. I was just talking for an hour straight, but I'm here and I'm ready to go. And I'm ready to have fun. This is such a fun show.
You got them lozenges ready to go? Lozenges. What's the proper way? I can't even pronounce that. It's like my fab and fob. Oh, Ricola.
Let's get a sponsorship. Ricola. They're fantastic.
Major, what's going on there in Cali?
Nothing much, it seems. Whoa, what's going on here?
Ooh, sounds like
that.
you're in the back there, man.
Sounds a little synthesized.
Yeah, but I don't know. My camera just went out. So I'm on my backup cam right now. It looks a little dark in here, but hey, everything is good. I'm here. Let's get to it.
We do. We got a lot of show. If you thought our regular show was long, boy, do I got a treat for you. Because I added even more questions to the show sheet this week. We'll see if we can actually get the whole rapid fire kind of down. But with the trade deadline that has come and gone, I want to pose this question out to everyone right now who's watching this. And, even if you're catching this on the replay, I want to know, with everything that's kind of gone down, what is your team's Achilles heel the rest of the season? And Tera, I know you're a big Packers fan. What are they going to watch out for the rest of the year?
What's gonna get us? Nothing. No, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how we replace Robert Tonyan. I mean, I know he wasn't getting a ton of targets, but he has a significant role in that offense. On the field a ton, very responsible within blocking as well. So, I mean, he's one of those players that adds a lot without really adding a ton from a fantasy perspective. So it'll be interesting how we compensate there. I know we heard that we might go for Evan Ingram. That didn't happen. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess that's going to lean on, it'll be interesting. We'll see.
Well, Alan Jackson had a Mercury that he was cruising up and down the road, and the Packers will be driving a little bit of a Mercedes the rest of the season by the sound of it. Good thing they did not get Evan Ingram, because that would have altogether.
I was low-key kind of curious. I wanted to see it just for fun.
Yeah, and then Major, for you there, what is your big 49ers fan there? What is that Achilles heel going to be for the 49ers the rest of the season?
Really?
She said everything. Jimmy G is how well he can perform, man. We need to get him and Brandon Ayuk back on the same page. Debo is balling and dudes like the yard after catch. He's a yak man. That defense we need to shore. We got a lot of holes to fill. But I think we'll be all right. What about you and your Raiders?
Oh man, my Raiders, we got our own types of issues. We thought we got over the whole Gruden gate there not too long ago. We got some other stuff that kind of came up in the news today. We'll be touching base on that a little bit later when Spitz Picks joins us again for the waiver wire bit. I don't want to get too much into it. We were talking a little bit off air about it, so we'll leave that. We'll definitely touch base on it at some point in the show, but it's going to be the mental game for the Raiders right now, especially when we look at what they've done in the last few seasons. The back end of the season's kind of fallen out. As a Raiders fan, we don't get our expectations too high because we know something's coming at some point in the season. It always does it to us. We got to the playoffs a couple of years ago, and then Derek Carr broke his leg. It's just one of those things that just happens, and Raiders fans have kind of grown accustomed to it, whether we like it or not. Now, some other big news, some other injury news for some other teams this time. The big man, King Henry, broken fifth metacarpal. Is that right? Metacarpal? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Ramada Inn once. And we're looking at a 6 to 8 week period. A man that big, I don't see him coming back within the 6 weeks. You're probably looking at closer to 8 weeks, which means there's maybe another waiver wire darling coming up there with Tennessee. What are your thoughts there, Tara, on Derrick Henry and his extended absence?
I think that you have to prioritize Adrian Peterson. And I know that concerns a lot of people because you think, well, I mean, first of all, age, is he really in football shape? I do think he probably stayed in football shape. I think the Titans are very aware of that, which is why they made such a very quick move with him. But from that perspective, I think he was waiting for the right situation. He had opportunities where he could have made the rounds like Todd Gurley, but he seemed to be waiting for a very specific situation. And the value for him, I think, is going to be in these goal line carries. Ryan Tannehill does have, he does have run value. He does have a little bit of upside there, but it's not a situation where it's a Jalen Hurts or Kyler Murray type situation where we think that he's going to come in and he's going to have a good opportunity with short yardage opportunities and goal line opportunities. So I think you have to prioritize Adrian Peterson. I do think Jeremy McNichols still does have value. So they're two guys that I would be grabbing off the waiver wire.
And while we're talking about the injury, we've seen how Jameis Winston can get down on one leg. He was out there dancing with the rest of the team after the big Saints victory there. Major, what are your thoughts on Jameis Winston and the Saints going forward? Obviously, they haven't made that call to Phillip Rivers yet.
I think I was just about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think they're going to have to reach out. Although Simeon played all right. He didn't like the barn on fire, but he did all right. And it's like Taysom Hill. Are we ever going to see him play quarterback? They paid him all that money. Like, can he get a couple snaps so we can see what's really going on there? But yeah, sad to see Jameis get hurt. This is his chance. Maybe his last. I don't know. I don't know if the Saints are going to pick him up next year or keep him on the team. They might go get a quarterback in the draft. So we'll see what happens. But it's sad because it seemed like they were starting to turn it around just a little bit. But we'll see.
And then the one thing I want to touch on here a little bit is, as fantasy managers, we love trades. We love moving pieces around all over the place, but it doesn't really affect real life very often. And the trade deadline has that effect. We got to remember, we got to humanize these players, even as fantasy managers, because they do have lives. They have kids in school. They've got this and that. And I remember watching that bit of a soundbite with Von Miller after he was traded from Denver to the Los Angeles Rams. And he was genuinely heartbroken about the move. It seemed like it almost kind of blindsided him. Yeah, he's going to a better situation, but he still has that Super Bowl MVP with Denver, right? He's got those foundations set up in Denver. Those roots are solid in Denver. And it's going to take some time, probably a couple weeks before, we just mentioned we haven't mentioned it, but Calvin Ridley is going to be missing a few games to get his mentals all kind of where they need to be. Von Miller is probably going to be a couple weeks before he can finally start to feel comfortable in that new surroundings. We kind of forget about what these players are dealing with when they're moving from one city to the next. What are your thoughts on that? I'll start with you, Tara.
Oh, go ahead.
No, for me, I mean, the only thought around it is that just the Rams are not playing around. They're very clear on their intentions. They're very clear that they don't want anything to do with draft picks, and they play like fantasy managers, and I kind of love it. I do think that, from an IDP perspective, I think, it might take him a second, but I think that he's not someone that I'm, looking to fade while he gets used to the new environment, any new schemes or anything. I think he's still going to have value right off the bat.
And then Major, just kind of talk about what are you looking at from an IDP standpoint there with Aaron Donald and Von Miller coming at you? Russell Wilson, he's just about to come off the IR. He may want to think about extending that a little bit longer.
No, yeah, and I think Von Miller is going to fit right in. I think they run that same offense he's running out there in Denver with Fangio. Was it the 4-3? He also lives in not Manhattan Beach. He lives at Venice Beach during the offseason. So it's not going to be a big change for Von, but you could hear like his voice crack and everything. He really loved that city. He's a Bronco, he said, for life. I'm just happy as a newly Rams fan. I'm happy to see that we got 3 Hall of Famers on that defense. Don't give me those looks.
You know exactly what that look is for.
Don't give me those looks.
Tera stayed true to her Clemson roots, even though they've lost like 3 times. Sure, and the 49ers lose a few times. Now you're going to Southern Cal? Like, come on now, Major. Be better.
I'm an LA kid, so I love all things LA. I don't watch hockey, but I love the Kings. I'm the Dodgers. I'm the Clippers. I'm LA. So I'm with LA, and I kind of like what they're doing. It's the same thing as like the Lakers, where they take away all the draft picks and just build their team through free agency and through like having those big name pieces around and just building around that. It seems like the Rams are kind of adopted that same a way of building a team. So I'm excited. It's going to be fun. I think Von still got some juice left. I mean, he's 30, 30, how old is he? 32?
32.
Yeah, so I think he still got some juice left, especially with Darnold taking those double teams. I think he's going to have a lot of sacks moving forward.
Well, the Rams need draft picks like Major needs favorite franchises. So, we're going to move on to the next part.
Too?
Yeah, probably.
I am.
They're LA.
They're growing on me. I didn't like what they did to LT, but like they're growing on me. I like Herbert. I like, they got some good pieces over there, man. They got Darwin. I like all those guys. So I'm just an LA guy. I love the players, man.
So we're going to get into the bold prediction part of the show right now, and we're going to go in reverse order this week. I'm actually going to mix it. So we're going to start off with my bold prediction. And I'm learning my lesson here this week. I'm going a little too bold more often than not.
I've been telling you this.
I felt good about this though last week. I felt good. I said that the Lions would beat the Eagles and Swift would hit for 150 scrimmage yards and Khalif Raymond would have another touchdown and 70 yards. Yeah, none of that happened. Not a single one of those things happened. Nada. And then
reel you in.
I've been trying every week, but he doesn't listen.
Don't worry, I'm still going to make a bold prediction a little bit later on in the show, but I'm just not going to pick any Lions the rest of the season. That's something I've just learned right now. So we could focus on my negligence as far as predicting goes, or we could focus on Major's negligence when it comes to his bold predictions and focus on his Joe Burrow as QB2. Now, I did the research. Going into Monday Night Football, he was the quarterback 10. Sorry, Major, you get no points on this one.
Well, I tried to go light and it didn't work. So I don't know my strategy. I might have to copy Tera again and see what happens.
Well, the last time we copied her, it didn't work. Last time we both tried to copy her, it didn't work. And now it's like she's like that smart kid in school, and she like purposely showed us her homework. We copied her, and then she like changed her answer because this week she went bold. She went with Gino Smith would have 20 or more fantasy points. Well, guess what? He had 22.6 fantasy points, and going into the Monday Night Football game, he was the QB8. Tera, think about it.
I would just like to thank Fantasy Points. Again, guys, I don't know what Major and Matt are doing. I don't know, I can only speak for myself.
We're doing that.
But I put heavy research into my bold predictions. There's logic behind it. And the logic, you got to support it with stats. You got to do the research. You need a good site to do that. So use Fantasy Points for that. But Gino Smith, man, 20 of 24. Talk about accuracy there. He didn't do it through high volume and just chucking the ball. The man did good. against bad defense. But, hey, 2 touchdowns. He did fantastic. And I started him. I was actually so confident in my bold prediction that I started him in a super flex league where I have Russell Wilson out. And it didn't really matter because I still got beat to death by Justin Boone. Shout out. It was just a killing. But yeah, he performed. I'm proud. And we're going to run it back this week. We'll run it back with my bold prediction later.
Hate when she's
I just want to give a shout out here. Husker, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us. We're not going to dwell too much on Tara's victory lapping here and then her name dropping on top of that there. Shout out Justin Boone, friend of the show. We had him on a little bit earlier.
The name drops.
Good episode. Go back and watch it. Good episode. Evergreen, very evergreen. Good to go back and watch.
Beyond the grind. Check it out.
I want her to be wrong all the time now. It's just...
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to come up with a new soundboard just for when Tara's wrong, specifically
Right.
the Nickelodeon like slime thing, something like that. So we all had our there was a bunch of studs. There's a bunch of duds each and every week. Tara, who was your stud and dud going into from back in week 8?
My stud was, and I am gonna rapid fire because I have a babysitter tonight, so my kids won't be popping in at the end, but I don't know entirely what time the babysitter has to leave, so I don't know how late I can keep going. So rapid fire. My stud of the week, AJ Brown. Self-explanatory, fantastic, really. My dud of the week, I will expand on that just a tiny bit. Kenneth Gamewell. Oh my gosh, he disappointed me. No explanation for it. I blame the Philadelphia coaching staff really because this was the first game where he literally had no receptions. The whole upside of Kenneth Gamewell is PPR. He was already achieving that before, just not at a scale that was actually fantasy usable. So you would logically think that, okay, Miles Sanders out, those targets got to shift. No, the targets all disappeared. They went away. Not a single running back caught a single pass. Jalen Hurts threw for, I think, 14 attempts. Crazy. So yeah, highly disappointing from Kenneth Gamewell. I was wrong. So wrong.
I'm a very experienced disappointment. I disappoint people almost daily, and I've never given people this disappointment that Kenneth Gamewell gave last week. Now, when you talk about him not being able to catch the ball at all, which was a huge disappointment. Major, who was your stud? Because I know this stud, he was catching balls left, right, and center.
I'm so happy about this one, man. Michael Carter rushed 15 times, 77 yards. Then came through with 14 receptions and 95 yards for a total of 172 yards from scrimmage. And he added a touchdown on top of that. So I'm happy for him. Happy for the Jets. What's the guy? Mike White. I still don't even know his name, but the guy played his butt off. He gave the team energy. Everyone's excited. And he just, Carter was his main guy, and he performed like I thought he would. When everyone during the draft saying that he was too small or he couldn't run between the tackles, he's showing you he can do a little bit of everything. My dud of the week is, who is it? Okay, yeah, Darius Slayton. The G-men are so beat up at wide receiver. So I thought Slayton was going to have an opportunity to be the wide receiver 1, being that he was the wide receiver 2 on that team just like last year. Or was he 3? I don't know. Who cares? But he's a starter, and he's getting passed up by people like Tony, and even John Ross had more receptions than him, and Colin Johnson had more receptions than him. They just moved him up from the practice squad. So I don't know what's going on there. He needs to talk to Danny Dimes and try to figure that part out. But come on, man, we need to do better than that, Slayton.
I love when you started mentioning Darius Slayton. Was he wide receiver 2? Was he wide receiver 3? And then Tara just kind of tweaked. You could see she was thinking about fact checking right there. Her eye kind of lit up. She was getting ready.
I was thinking. I was like, it's 3, right? 3? Yeah. I didn't get my hands. I'm not typing. I'm not looking.
He had a run where it was a few weeks. He was the man. I can't recall, but it was that's why I picked him up, because I was like, oh, this guy he's on second year guy. I thought he had an opportunity to build on that, but it's just falling flat this year. So I don't know what's going on over there.
And for me, I'm going to keep going. You talked about Michael Carter being your stud, and I did put down the quarterback of the Jets, Mike White. And I started him this week against a friend of the show, Bob Gilchrist, in one of our analyst leagues, because quite frankly, no one else would trade me a quarterback in that league. And I had both Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson on bye. So I had to basically grab any quarterback I could find off the waivers. I grabbed Case Keenum just in case. I grabbed Cooper Rush just in case. And I grabbed Mike White, and I played him this week. And he put up as many points as Tom Brady and helped me kind of pull that victory out. So shout out to the stud himself, Mr. Mike White, with 405 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. And yes, he caught more passes too than Darius Slayton. Actually, I don't know if he actually did, but he did have that 2-point conversion catch. And then my dud came on Monday Night Football. If you were looking for a Monday Night Miracle and you're going up against Travis Kelce of the Chiefs, you got your wish, because he just posted a glorious 4.7 fantasy points. He was actually outscored in that game by the aforementioned Evan Ingram. Okay, you know you're having a bad day when that happens. But when you take a look at this, he's had one game with more than 10 fantasy points if you're going by standard scoring in the last 5 games. Why did I choose standard? Because it looks worse than it actually is in PPR. PPR, he's doing okay. But in the standard scoring, he's had one game of 10 or more points in the last 5 weeks. This is not the Travis Kelce that we've been used to. And he laid an absolute dud of a game there on Monday Night Football. So that's where my dud of the week comes in. Now, when we flip the script here, full disclosure, we already had Tara doing the foxtrot there over Gino Smith. What were some of your other hits? Because I see a list of about 40 of them here right now on the show sheet. Can you maybe keep it down to maybe 3 or 4? She is speechless right now.
She's miming.
I know, I can see her lips moving, but I can't hear a word she's saying right now.
She's saying so much good stuff right now.
Man, yeah. Okay.
It's like you were going in too. You look like you were so happy.
Well, I was defending myself because I filled this out after you guys. So I just, for reference, Matt literally wrote too many to count. And then Major had like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
Don't
down
give
there.
up my stuff before. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
And so I was only gonna put 1 down, but I was like, you know what? I need to go big since they're going big. So my hit, man, I nailed my IDP prediction. I felt pretty positively about it, but I feel good. I'm not an IDP expert. So, I think, Major, you might be a little more IDP than me. Matt, you too. Just definitely, I don't claim IDP expertise by any means whatsoever. So for me to get here and say, Quandry Diggs was going to have an interception and that Bobby Wagner was going to be double-digit targets and hit both of those, I felt pretty good about myself from an IDP perspective. Being an IDP rookie.
Would you might not be no expert, would you give yourself a title of IDP queen?
I think I would. I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now.
Oh my gosh. This is Tara talking trash right now. It's so nice, but she's out of control right now. She's so happy.
That's why I love this show. It's just like I look forward to this. I look forward to acting ridiculous. But
cool.
Yes. But yeah, my other hits, Aaron Jones, really just the big thing on that was the uptick that he was going to get with all of our receivers legitimately out and him becoming a de facto wide receiver 1. And then we had Darrell Henderson as well, that he was going to have a fantastic bounce back game, and he did. And then, of course, my miss, we don't have to go over it again. It was obviously Kenneth Gamewell, big miss.
Yeah, I would agree. And you know what, Aaron Jones, I'm still not convinced he scored that touchdown. I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, Major, I see you've got like another list of 4 or 5 guys here. You threw a little bit of IDP in here as well. Let's talk about your hits and misses, because it has a very LA, Southern Cal type flavor to it.
Yeah, so, kind of like Tara, I want to give a shout out to Fantasy Points for just providing the stats and information just to help me be the fantasy guru that I am. So you can also be that fantasy guru by putting that promo code in 21Vipers10 to get that 10% off your Fantasy Point subscription. So I hit on Derwin James, came and led the Chargers in tackles with 8 and also forced a fumble. Also hit on Harris was Damian Harris, 80 yards and a touchdown. Joe Burrow 259 yards and 3 TDs. I hit him a lot more, but I didn't want to show off or anything. But Justin Herbert, come on, man, it's a dud. I picked him as my Michael Myers player to come back from the dead because he had a dud before the week before that. And he came back and had another dud and threw 2 interceptions. So Justin Herbert, you're killing me, man. I need you to get back to your MVP form and get back on track. So you get one of these. What about you, Matt?
I try to follow your route there with my Michael Myers comeback from the dead player as being Patrick Mahomes, but he didn't really do much either. But so I'm not going to go into that as a complete miss. But when we talk about the hits, I had so many. I don't want to brag, so I'm just going to leave it at that for now. But the misses, I want to focus on the misses because I really believed the Lions against the Eagles was going to be a fantastic matchup. The Eagles had given up the 4th most scrimmage yards to running backs heading into that game, and yeah, DeAndre Swift didn't do a whole heck of a lot of anything. And then the other thing, the Broncos wide receivers. I didn't expect much from Jerry Jeudy, but I really thought Cortland Sutton was going to have a big game, especially when you look at who they were playing. They're playing the Washington football team, who has been giving up yards after yards after yards, especially to the wide receiver position. I think they've given up the most yards of any team all season. And Teddy Bridgewater, Noah Fant. You want to throw in a little bit of Jeudy. You want to throw in Tim Patrick. Didn't even have that. I think he was the top receiver at one point. Cortland Sutton didn't do a whole heck of a lot, which was really disappointing. And the only guy who really produced was Melvin Gordon on a couple touchdowns, which really didn't do me a whole lot of favor outside of a couple leagues that I have that are aging assets is the best way to put it. Man, that might as well be the team name that I have is aging assets that Melvin Gordon's on. But I really thought they would get that passing game going against Washington, and that did not materialize. So I apologize to everyone who I said start your Broncos receivers in this game, especially Cortland Sutton, because that one stings. That one stings a lot. Now we're getting into our game previews, our games of the week, and I'm very curious here, Tara. What is your game that you actually want to watch? Because I'm seeing the show sheet. I'm seeing if there's a spelling mistake or some kind of correction here, or is it still Halloween or April Fool? I don't even know what month we're in anymore.
Does it say the games you want to watch? I don't think that, it's not because I want to watch this game. I chose my game of the week as Houston versus Miami. And the reasoning had absolutely nothing to do with wanting to watch the game, although I am in Houston. So if I was being a team player, I would be watching it, but I probably won't. But the reason is that, first of all, you guys took both the great games. So I was left with middling games. And so I just wanted to take it all the way down to the very bottom and go with the battle of the awful teams, who are not actually awful from a fantasy perspective in terms of how this is going to match up. So that's where I was heading with this, is that I wanted to talk about this game because this is a very interesting game where we've got some people in play that you might not have thought. Obviously, you want to attack Houston's run defense. And, with Miami, they don't have a fantastic defense as well. So when I'm looking at Miami, I want to start Tua, obviously. He's a great streaming option. I want to start Jalen Waddle. Don't be fooled by last week's production not being fantastic. He's still got plenty of targets. For me, I do think that Waddle is still this wide receiver 1 option rest of season for them. He just got the bad targets. I think, when you look at Buffalo's defense, it just wasn't a good matchup situation for Waddle. It just worked out better for Parker. But you do want to get Parker. You do want to pick up Parker. He's one of the waiver wire ads this week. Pick him up, start him, feel good about it. If Brandon Cooks decides that he doesn't want to bail out on the team and just pull a Deshaun Watson and sit out and say, no, dude, I'm through with it, because he was a little upset on Twitter this week after Mark Ingram was traded. But yeah, if he decides that he does want to show up, which I think he will because he's a team player, you do want to start Brandon Cooks in this situation. It can be a good game for him. And shockingly, Davis Mills, I think, is someone who can be streamable this week. I think that, he might have some turnovers, but I think from a volume perspective, I think he's going to be good enough that he's someone that you can look at if you're in a deep league and feel comfortable-ish with it. Who am I fading? Aside from wide receivers, aside from Brandon Cooks, I'm fading the other wide receivers, with the exception of Nico Collins. I think that you can get away with Nico Collins. I think that he's been a stealthy little under the radar, and I think this is a good situation for him in this matchup to be able to be someone who you can stream on a bye week needy situation. But my big sneaky matchup is going to be Myles Gaskin. I'm okay with starting Myles Gaskin. I think that there are matchup situations where you can take the risk, and this is the perfect one. Against Houston, he should be able to get plenty of work. We've got Malcolm Brown that's out on IR, so it's literally just him and Savannah Ahmed. So I feel comfortable. Go ahead and do it. Put him in your flex and roll with it.
You know what? I love some of these beautiful messes, as we like to call them, for games, because there's all these gems in there, and I am kind of looking forward to this. I'm going to touch on this a little bit later, but the best part about this matchup is this is basically Houston is coming over, a team in which Miami was in contact with for several weeks leading up to this contest, and Tua Tagovailoa is going to have himself a ball game. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Now, Major, you want to talk about your favorite team in the National Football League here right now. Your Los Angeles Rams are hosting the Tennessee Titans. Now, when you look at this, I really like the running back matchup. So can you go back to your junior college days there and talk about this running back matchup?
Hey, don't
I'm
hate.
so glad I was not drinking my coffee when he said that. It would have
We
ruined
almost had a spit take, but it's all good. I'm just ignore whatever nonsense Matt is talking about and just stick to my script. So I'm going to go with, let's see, the starts of the week. I like to give one per team. So I'm going to go Cooper Kupp versus A.J. Brown. I think they're both going to have pretty good games. Cooper Kupp is just balling out of control. The guy is a fantasy football wide receiver 1, posting 63 receptions, 924 yards, and 10 touchdowns. It's nothing else.
Can we pause that for 1 second? How many games has he played? He's at almost 1,000 yards already. He's got 10 touchdowns. How many games have the Rams played this year? Are you kidding me right now?
8 games, man. That's in 8 games. So like, there's nothing else left. It's like Stafford to Kupp is like unstoppable thing. Before the season, I thought Robert Woods would be that guy, but Kupp has come into his own and shown that he is a true wide receiver 1 of that team. With AJ Brown, he started off really slow, a little banged up. That whole receiver core was kind of banged up at the beginning of the season, but the last 3 weeks he's been coming on. He started with 90 yards. The next game he had 133 yards, and last week you guys seen Tara kind of talked about it earlier, 155 yards and a TD. And with Henry being out, I think Tannehill, he's going to have to show that he can throw the ball without that play action. So we're going to see if Tannehill to Brown can work to help with that playoff push. So that's what I got there.
And then, you want to talk about, so you talked about that AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp as the kind of guys you have to start. You're going to be playing these guys. So who are you fading? I'm
fading Jeremy McNichols just because he's a third down back, and I think they're going to keep him in that same role. It kind of seems like that the coaching staff, they don't really know how to coach running backs without Henry in the game. I think they rely on him so much. They forgot to put in like a little contingency plan, like if he got hurt, like what's going to happen. You see they kind of scrambled, got AP at the last second. But, I'm going to fade Jeremy just because I think he has higher expectation than what he's really going to put out. I think he's going to stay in that same third down back role. For my sneaky play, I'm going to go AP fresh off the couch. I think he's going to ball. I dare one of you guys to call him old. I dare you. I'm not going to do it. I heard someone reference a 32-year-old as old today on Twitter, and I can't believe where I'm at in my day. Like 32, we're calling 32 old. Yeah. What does that make Major right now? So, okay, I'm going to let you have that. I'm going to let you have that. You kind of set it up, so I'm going to let you have that one. But, last year at 36, Mr. Peterson rushed for a little over 600 yards, 7 TDs on a bad Lions team. So with that Titans offensive line, I think he shouldn't have any trouble filling in for King Henry. So look for AP to come off the couch and give you a good game. So that's what I have for that game.
Well, we'll
Yeah,
see
Matt.
if Prince Peterson can step up.
Oh, here she go with a fact or something. Here we go.
Before we
My
move on,
my finger is on the boo button right now, so just tread lightly.
No, before we move on, I just want to say that I will not call Adrian Peterson old, but this is a rare opportunity where an old NFL player is actually older than me. So I feel like I'm actually happy to be able to say that. Usually it's like people calling 29-year-olds old, and you're like, okay, that's kind of crazy.
Especially at running back, right?
Yeah. But the one thing I did want to point out is I'm a little bit shocked here. Matt, I'm sure you're shocked too. I would have thought that Jeremy McNichols would have been right up Major's alley. I mean, it's a third string running back. That is his brand. I literally call him Major third string.
It's my
running
brand
back.
now? Is my brand?
Yes.
Okay.
Major
right.
third string running back. That's
Okay.
your name now. And so
All
I'm a
right.
little bit shocked.
Yeah.
I would not have expected you to go for literally like a GOAT running back. That's kind of crazy. So yeah.
But I'm going with a running back stretch, like fresh out of like nowhere. He's probably just chilling, you know what I'm saying? So I think, but AP, he's born ready. So like, I guess I did cheat a little bit, but I don't really like McNichols. I never really liked his game. But me being a running back guru and everything, playing in junior college, you know what I'm saying? Is I know what I'm talking about. So I've been right pretty much every time. So
except for Ramondre Stevenson, but
no, I really wanted the Titans to trade for Ramondre because he's the closest thing to Henry in the league right now besides AJ Dillon. So I was hoping they would go after my guy, but no dice.
Well, we go from the running back guru to the guru of guys who are too slow and too fat, and that's me. And I want to talk about the game of the week, and that is the Packers and the Chiefs. Without a doubt, we're not going to get cute. We're starting, as much as it pains us even right now, we're going to start Aaron Rodgers. We're going to start Patrick Mahomes. Have they done what we've seen them do in the past? No. Are they capable of being QB1 and QB2 each and every week? Absolutely. You look at Aaron Rodgers, maybe the guy we make fun of the most. He's got a great matchup. The Chiefs can't stop nobody. Even if you look at what they did with the Giants here last week, it was the Giants with like nobody to throw the ball to. Shepard got hurt again. Slayton's been dinged up before. Kadarius Toney was coming off a bad injury as well. I mean, the fact that this game was not a blowout for the Chiefs, it has nothing to do with their defense. So stop giving the Chiefs defense credit because there was nothing on the Giants side. They couldn't even stop. The Chiefs could not even stop Evan Ingram, the one player everyone has stopped for the last 3 years. Okay, that's the Chiefs defense that we're talking about. Stop it right now. That said, Aaron Jones, you're firing him up, and guess what? Devontae Adams has a week worth of games to make up for, and he's going to make it all up in one game against the Chiefs. I mean, I would not be shocked. This is not even a bold prediction. I would not be shocked if Adams had 14 receptions and 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. I don't even think that's being bold. I mean, I think he's trying to make up 2 weeks in one here. So Adams is a no-doubter. You're starting him no matter what. Hill, you're going to start Tyreek Hill. You're going to start Travis Kelce. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable like where I'm at with either one of these guys. These guys are surefire starts last couple seasons, but if you look at what Tyreek Hill has been, he's been up and down all week. He's been a huge boomer bust. And like I mentioned, if we're talking about standard scoring, Travis Kelce hasn't been that standard at the tight end the last few weeks. Now, we want to get sneaky. I can't believe that we all missed this on our Halloween special. Like we were literally talking about Halloween, and there's one person that's basically named after a pumpkin, and that was Derek Gore, and we missed that. How do we miss Gore as a sneaky play on Halloween? Someone, please. Thank you. We still got – this is the thing I love about Major. He didn't even change the soundboard from Halloween. We've still got everything we need there. Be my sneaky play of this week. I think they go back to him again. And Daryl Williams, he's got to be looking over his shoulder because I think this kid, we saw what he did in the preseason. We saw what Gore did in the preseason. I think he can do that in the regular season as well. So he's my sneaky play. So Daryl Williams is the guy I'm fading. Derek Gore is the guy I'm kind of looking forward to. And I mentioned about how Alan Jackson likes that Mercury. Well, you know what? Aaron Rodgers, he may learn to like a Mercedes here because he's going to have to rely on Mercedes Lewis and Robert Tonyan out. No, they didn't go out and get nobody else. They didn't go out and get Evan Ingram. They didn't get any other tight ends out there. They're sticking with old Matt. The only guy that's maybe even older than Major, Mercedes Lewis. He's literally the only – Terry, you know this better than I do. Is Mercedes Lewis literally the only first-round draft pick that's caught a touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers?
Wow.
Dang. That was
That might be a good stat right there.
That was a little cold. It was a little
might
cold.
Be right though. It
I
might
mean,
be
that's
true.
probably more of a shot. That's probably more of a shot at Packers management right now.
It is. It was
And
cold.
I really think Mercedes Lewis could be the superhero you need in your lineups this week. And speaking of superheroes, every once in a while, we need to be saved from ourselves. And that brings me to Mr. Waiver Wire Wonderful. Welcome to the show at Spitz Game, at FF Dependency. Mello, how you doing?
What's up, fellas? Waiver Man is in the house. I just have to come in with the mask since I missed the Halloween show last week. Let me get rid of the clown stuff. Glad to be here, guys. Glad to be here. How you doing?
Great. Glad to have you back on here. I'll let you kind of talk us through the waivers. We each got kind of a guy we're looking at here on the waiver, but we want to hear what you have to say.
Let's get into it. But before I start, I just want to give Jameis Winston his flowers. Man, I'm a huge Jameis Winston stan boy. And coming into the season, people had a lot of jokes about him throwing interceptions and whatnot. He played absolutely well, did what he was supposed to do as an NFL quarterback, only threw 3 interceptions. I felt Sean Payton held him back a little bit this season, but who knows where the future holds for the man, but I wish him the best. Speaking of quarterbacks, if you play in the Superflex League, Mike White from the Jets was absolutely dealing. This Thursday, they play the Colts. Grab him and start him, and don't worry, if you play in a Superflex League, Indy will have their way in that game and will have a lead, so the Jets will have to be throwing the ball. Since we're talking about quarterbacks, Tyrod Taylor might be active this week. I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor to pick him up. I'm just mentioning Tyrod Taylor because he is a quarterback that does not turn the ball over. A lot of people out there in fantasy world are saying, pick up Miami Dolphins defense, play them against the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans are a completely different team, or any team is different with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. He's very conservative. He will not turn the ball over. So do not go run and pick up the Dolphins defense. I'm going from the back. Least interesting position, tight end. My number 1 tight end waiver for this week will be Tyler Conklin. Why? Because the Baltimore Ravens have been getting murdered by tight ends all year. Look at the opening game of the season where Darren Waller had 19 targets. Travis Kelce 8. Now, those are studs. But CJ Uzomah getting 2 touchdowns last week, and Tyler Conklin, he's filling in admirably for Irv Smith. He might actually be that guy in Minnesota. The second tight end, Pat Freiermuth, if that's how you pronounce his name. A lot of people were excited about Freiermuth catching touchdowns in the preseason. He's really starting to come into his own ever since Juju Smith-Schuster went down. Last 2 games, he had 7 targets in each game. Ben Roethlisberger is looking for him because we know Ben has a noodle arm. He's not throwing downfield anymore. Juju was his guy in the middle of the field, and that's where Pat Freiermuth is taking place. When Eric Ebron is banged up, who knows if he's going to play. So if you need help at tight end, Pat Freiermuth is a guy. Running back, I mentioned this last week. It's too late now. It's over. I said Michael Carter and Ty Johnson was going to pop off last week. Both of them did. The thing is, everybody's talking about Michael Carter. You can't get him anymore. He's owned everywhere. This is a Kyle Shanahan type of offense where it's a dual backfield. They're going to ride the hot hand. Ty Johnson, if you look at PPR, he's been in double digits 3 games in a row. Mike White loves throwing it to running backs. We've seen the past 2 games that he's come in. If you need running back help, Ty Johnson, I guarantee, is out there and available in all of your leagues. Do not sleep on him. The big running back news of the week, and I know you guys are going to give me some crap about this one. Derrick Henry went out, right? So automatically people are saying, oh, go pick up Adrian Peterson. He's the same type of back that Henry is. But you know what? He was a prototype of Derrick Henry. Big bruiser, powerful guy, breakaway speed, take it to the house. AP did show some flashes of it last year in Detroit and the previous year in Washington, but he is just not the same type of running back. When you look at the Titans, Derrick Henry broke a lot of tackles at the line of scrimmage, then took it to the house. Adrian Peterson is not that guy. The Titans will have to change up the way that they play offense. Hand the ball off, play action. A.J. Brown is going to eat in that offense. They are going to pass it, convert to the vertical passing game. Pick up Jeremy McNichols. Do not use a lot of fab on him. He is a pass-catching extraordinaire. The game script will favor him. They will have to come from behind. Adrian Peterson has rocks for hands. He's not going to catch the ball. And that's no diss on Adrian Peterson, one of my favorite players for the past 2 decades. But while everybody is out there blowing their 50% fab on Adrian Peterson, you sneak in the back door and grab Jerry McNichols. You may not start him this week, but make sure you have him on your roster. Last week, I also said Kenneth Gamewell. Now look, Kenneth Gamewell got 13 touches. The team is telling you that they want to do. They're telling you what they prefer. And who they really prefer is Boston Scott and now Jordan Howard. All I'm saying is, I said to say, do not give up on Kenneth Gamewell because the game script did not favor him. Everybody looks at Kenneth Gamewell as a pass catching back. Eagles did not need to throw it to their running backs last week because they had a lead on the Detroit Lions. And Hurts had 14 pass attempts, did not need to throw it. Do not dump Kenneth Gamewell. Yes, do pick up Boston Scott, but do not dump Kenneth Gamewell. People we're overreactionary sometimes. So just leave it at that. Wide receivers. Jamal Agnew seems to be the guy who is filling in for DJ Chark. Now, he's not the number 1 wide receiver. He's the number 3 guy, the slot guy. Kick return specialist. If you play in the league that rewards points for kickoff returns, Jamal Agnew is a must-own. The last 3 games, double digits in fantasy points with or without the kick return yardage. Another wide receiver out here in LA, Desean Jackson has asked for out, and the Rams cut Desean Jackson. Tutu Atwell is out. You got the Breakfast Club guy in Cooper Kupp. You have Robert Woods. Now firmly entrenched behind those 2 guys, you have Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson is football royalty, wide receiver royalty. His father, Sean Jefferson, coaches wide receivers in the NFL and played in the NFL. The guy knows how to play football, and Matthew Stafford trusts him. Last but not least, being as it may, I'm a Raiders fan, and we've had a wild, wild season. My Raiders pickup of the week is not Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is going to eat. Bryan Edwards. It's time for the kid to grow. Bryan Edwards has been coming up big in the 4th quarter of games this season and in overtime, making some big plays. Had his first touchdown last week. Imagine if he does what he does in the 4th quarter for the entire game. And now he may actually have to do it for the entire game because somebody has to fill the void left by Henry Ruggs. And I just want to say prayers out to all the families who were infected, who have been impacted and affected by the fatal car crash in Las Vegas due to Henry Ruggs and his DUI. Who knows what the future holds for Henry Ruggs? He could be looking at 2 years in prison. He could be looking at 20 years in prison. But for the short term, his football career is over. Somebody has to fill the void. Matt, I know you're a Raiders fan as well. From a fantasy perspective, how are you looking at the Raiders passing game? And how are you looking at the Raiders in real life football wise? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. It's appreciated you coming on here, giving us those waiver wires. As far as the Raiders go, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do here going forward. I believe in Derek Carr. I think he's been spreading the ball out really well, getting everyone involved, whether it's Zay Jones. But you got to also remember, not only is Ruggs no longer going to be available, but they just released Willie Snead not that long ago. So they were basically down to Renfro and Edwards and Waller, obviously, and Zay Jones is still kicking around. There's not a lot of receivers on that roster right now, and they may be going practice squad hunting here in the next couple of days to try and fill up that wide receiver core moving forward, especially when they look at the other things that Ruggs was doing, not just as a receiver, but as a special teamer as well. So keep an eye on guys like Daz Newsome off the Chicago Bears practice squad. He's a guy that they could be targeting who also gives you some special teams value. So I think those are the kind of guys they're going to be looking at here going forward. Maybe even look at if Travis Fulgham, if he's still in the practice squad there, Major. I know you were talking about him. I haven't seen him make it anything in Miami, but who knows what I know. But, they're going to find someone to fill a spot on that roster going forward. They did release Nate Peterman just to bring him back onto the practice squad, which was kind of a bittersweet kind of feeling to me. I was happy that they released him, but then they brought him back and kind of twisted me up a different way altogether. But now I like when you mention, and I'm going to let Tara talk on this a little bit, one of those wide receivers being Jamal Agnew. I know Tara's a big believer in what he can do off the waiver wire.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing about Agnew, and I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm trying to rapid fire a little bit, but we've had enough of a sample size right here to be able to comfortably say that he has a role in this offense. He isn't somebody who's on there, getting decent amount of time and 30% snap count. No, he's had, 63, 59, 72. I think this absence of DJ Chark, we thought that it was going to push over to Laviska Shenault. And unfortunately, it hasn't. Unfortunately for us that are, Visca truthers. But, Jamal Agnew has come through. He's getting targets. He's, being productive with them. He got a touchdown last week. He's someone that I think at this point you need to have him as one of your waiver priorities. Behind guys like Devontae Parker, obviously. Darnell Mooney is still someone out there that you can look at as well. But this Jaguars offense just pushes out so much volume. And even if there's inaccuracies in it from Trevor, there's turnovers as well. There's plenty going around that he can be productive and contribute to your team and worthy of a flex spot. So, yeah, Jamal Agnew is one of my favorite waiver pickups of the week. All
right. Before we move on here, I just want to say, Mel, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good job.
You bet. Take care. And the best part is I love when Tara mentions rapid fire. Now, when we use the term rapid fire, it's not in the conventional sense. All that rapid fire means on this show is we speak more, but we speak faster. Okay. So it actually takes up more time. That's what rapid fire means to us. Like I can't think of a better way to describe that. We talked about Jamal Agnew being a good waiver wire guy. Major, you're staying in Duval County with your waiver wire wonder.
Absolutely. And I do want to say before I give mine, I called Agnew a couple weeks ago. So, again, right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to just go with this one. And I have to go with Dan Arnold. That's a little reference for all my dads who have my dad's from the early 2000s. Hey Arnold was a good show. But hey, so Dan came over from the Panthers. See, Tara, you're too young.
No, that was.
I'm trying
to figure out how old you are because you're saying as a dad, but that was a show that I watched when I was growing up, and I thought we were closer in age. So I'm high key confused.
No.
I remember seeing Hey Arnold with my daughter. Go ahead.
I mean,
well, then a compliment. You look younger than I think.
I'm older than all you guys. I just drink a lot of water and work out once a week. But yeah, I'm going with Dan Arnold. He's built a great rapport with T-Law. He's leading the team in receptions the last 2 weeks. Actually, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, he's been leading the team in receptions. So I think that he's that safety blanket that young quarterbacks like to have. So go and pick up Dan Arnold. The tight ends have been horrible this year. So you want to scrap any kind of point you can from anyone. And it looks like he's getting that volume. So go ahead and grab him.
I agree with you there. I think he had 14.8 fantasy points last week. He had about 20% target share. He has had 5 or more targets in 3 straight games. So you're definitely getting, the way the tight end position is working out right now, you need to find some value at the tight end position. We're talking about 4 teams on a bye week. We're talking about some tight ends that are battling some injury, a little bit of inconsistency. Arnold's giving you that consistency the last few weeks. Now, for me, we talked about Tera's train wreck there of a game of the week with Miami and Houston. I want to stay in that game, and I'm going to go with Will Fuller. You may not remember him since, we're not talking horse steroids or anything like that. And injuries, we haven't talked about injuries for a while, but Will Fuller was set to return last week. He was eligible to return. He was coming off the IR, and he gets a revenge game. He wasn't sitting out last week because he was still hurt. He was saving himself because the thing with Will Fuller when he's not on performance-enhancing drugs is he's only good to play one game before he goes down. So he was saving that one game for the Texans, and he's a guy you can grab off waivers right now because pretty confident he's been dropped just about everywhere. You can go out there and you can grab them right now. And you know what? You can check out my waiver wire ads. I just dropped on the Vipers Network right before this show. I give about four wide receivers, 4 running backs, 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends, something like that you're going to want to check out there if you want more waiver wire information. Now, another couple of things we want to look at is players that are trending up or trending down, that relax, that panic type thing that sets in on all of us fantasy managers. Tara, who's that player for you?
Sorry, I might have been fact checking. I was fact checking. I'm sorry, and I'm not going to mention it. But it is a fact that I did in fact confirm. but my player that is trending up or trending down, it is a trending up situation, and it's Michael Pittman. I'm just really happy for him. He's showcasing that he is that wide receiver 1 in that offense. And not only that wide receiver 1 in that offense, he is a wide receiver 1, period. He is a top 10 wide receiver in an incredibly unsuspecting way. And the schedule for the Colts is just straight up fantastic. I hope you guys got on the bus. If you missed the bus, he's trending so far up. I think he's going to be on this exact path for the rest of the season. And so, yeah, that's my trending up player.
Major, who's trending up for you or down or all around?
I'm trending up with one of our favorites. I know Tara likes this guy. Brandon Ayuk has 7 targets. That's all that matters. I don't care how many yards he had. How many receptions he had. I'm just happy they're looking his way. So I'm going to leave it at that. Rapid fire.
I love the rapid fire. That's the unconventional sense for us. Now, Tara did message me while you were speaking there and while she was trying to get off about the fact that she was looking at. And in fact, Major did play junior college at running back. So that is a fact. Now, my relax is Justin Fields. Just relax. Seriously. Sure, he was the QB5 last week, but let's take a look at some of these other top 12 quarterbacks. Mike White, Jimmy Garoppolo, Gino Smith, Davis Mills, Cooper Rush. They're all backups. It was Halloween. Every backup was dressed up as a starter, and that includes Justin Fields. There, I said it. I'll say it. He threw for 175 yards. Yes, he ran for another 100, but he only threw 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And I remember people going on to Twitter saying, Justin Fields is here. We had that big game. No. It was 175 yards. Mike White literally threw for like 200 and some more yards than him. Like, come on, relax on Justin Fields. It was 1 week. Yes, you got that Konami Code type quarterback play. That's all good and groovy. Congratulations. But let's be honest. Major's 3rd favorite team in California isn't very good right now. Now, a new little part of the show that I like to bring up is we like to talk a little DFS. We're getting into it. I don't know much about DFS. I'm not a big DFS guy, mostly because I'm too cheap to play. But I know Tara does a little DFS. She talks a little DFS. And we like to talk stacks upon stacks. So, Tara, who's that stack of the week for you?
Oh, I wish you had told me it was DFS. I would have looked at pricing. But yeah, regardless, a fantastic stack to look at. It's going to be expensive. So I'm sorry, guys, if I might have tried to temper it a little bit. But my expensive stack of the week is for sure Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams against the Kansas City defense. I don't think there needs to be an explanation on that. Kansas City's defense has shown us what it cannot do.
Well, I really do believe that Devontae Adams is going to hit for 200 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. I really think that's going to happen. Major, let me hear your stacks.
I'm going with Carson Wentz and Michael Pittman. I think Tara kind of looked at my sheet and cheated, but it's okay. When you're like getting all A's in class. Sometimes the kids behind you try to look over your shoulder. It's all good, Tara. Good job.
That was my stack last week. I was already there.
Oh, damn. Okay. But Winston Pittman has been ringing the last 2 weeks, posting 3 touchdowns. Wentz sometimes can't get out of his way for some reason at the end of games, but quarters 1 through 3, the guy's looking like an all-star. So, and Pittman, a USC guy, you know, I am my LA teams. I'm happy for him. You know, he's royalty as well. His pops played in the league, and he is a big physical receiver. And with TY, can't find a way to get healthy. With Paris always hurt. I mean, you're only left with him, and he's performing. So I'm happy for him. Who you got, Matt?
Well, see, I am very frugal, not only in DFS, but in real life. That's probably being generous here. I seen the Adams and Rogers stack. That's a no-brainer. And you know what? Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase sounds like a great one as well that you're going to be looking at. But the way I look at it is the way this running back wasteland has been. You got 4 teams on bye, and the running backs that are available, they're pretty much injured or they're dinged up or whatever it is. So I want to try and save a little bit of that DFS cash there for the running back position. So I'm going to go the frugal route, and I'm going to capitalize on this Thursday night football matchup in which the New York Football Jets are playing against the 7th most friendly team to the wide receiver position, and I'm going to stack Mr. 400, Mike White, with Jamison Crowder. Last week they hit together for 8 catches, 84 yards, and that's just the beginning for these two. You're looking for that cheap end kind of guy. I think you could put Crowder kind of in that wide receiver 3, depending on how you want to set up that lineup. And I really think that Mike White is going to give you that flexibility for the rest of that lineup. So give me that stack of Mike White and Jamison Crowder. And Major, don't you shake your head at me.
I'm going to say, Matt, I don't think you're doing this segment right. This is not the bold prediction part. This is
Well, let's see. I've already predicted.
It's very budget friendly. It's very budget friendly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Also, out the bargain bin, like that's what that is.
Full disclosure, I don't do DFS, so try not to listen to me when I do this. But I really like where I'm going with that. I might construct a lineup just for fun to see how that works.
Be right. You should have did this for your.
There's free contests. You can do free contests.
Ooh. You know what? Free is one of my favorite words. Now when we get to who are some of those players that you're considering sitting this week or tempering those expectations? Who's a stud that you're like, oh, you know what? I don't know about you.
So full disclosure, I always start my studs, but if I were not going to, it would have to be Jalen Hurts. I mean, this one's really short and sweet, explanatory. I think they're going to continue exactly what they did last week because the Chargers' run defense is awful. So it worked against Detroit. Why not make it work against the Chargers and attack on the ground? And I think we'll see a sub-20 target game from sub-20 target attempt from Jalen Hurts.
Major, who's got your attention, not necessarily in a positive way?
I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. Every other week, he rotates between good and bad games. And last week, he had one of his better games with 94 yards and a TD. So if the pattern holds, I'm pretty sure he's going to come up short this week.
Speaking of short, my guy's Elijah Mitchell. And sorry, that was not meant to be a short joke, but it just helped itself there. Elijah Mitchell. Arizona is allowing the 9th most rushing yards, so that may be appealing. But they've also given up the 3rd fewest rushing touchdowns. And for me, he's going to need those touchdowns to get them fantasy points. And I don't see that happening, especially him being a little banged up with that rib injury that he's facing right now. I think we may see a little bit more Jermichael Hasty kind of inserted into that lineup a little bit more this week. I'm tempering those expectations on Elijah Mitchell. I'm still probably starting him, but I'm not expecting what I saw last week from him. So there's that. Now, who is that player for you, Tara, that's a little bit under the radar that you want to kind of give a little bit of love to?
I mean, he's not super under the radar, but if I'm going the opposite direction of Jalen Hurts, you need to feel more confident in Boston Scott. Again, I think the Eagles this week are going to try to push the run heavy early, and Boston Scott is that guy who had the most snap counts, and I think he's going to continue that path. So, yep, that is my under the radar guy.
Who's flying under the radar for you, Major?
I'm going with Cedric Wilson versus the Broncos. did a little bit of everything last week. He had 3 receptions for 84 yards with a 70-yard touchdown, and he also threw a 35-yard pass. So he's that little Konami code receiver that we all love. So they gave it a nickname, said the entertainer, but that's already taken. So we need to find a nickname for said. But I don't know how long it's gonna last. So grab him right now because oh gosh, his name's slipping my mind. Michael Gallup is coming back soon, so it said it might be going back to the bench. So use him while you can.
How about here's a nickname for him. Cedric, I have a better completion percentage than Justin Fields. Wilson. Does that work? Does that got a good ring to it?
Yikes. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. So for my under the radar guy, and if you're watching the show, it's not really under the radar because I keep talking him up every week, but it's got to be Jacoby Myers. It has to be a Jacoby Myers week. He is 4 targets away from becoming the all-time leader in career targets without a touchdown. He's got 190 targets in his career without a touchdown. The record holder right now is Eric Bieniemy. Okay, please, if we can't give Bieniemy a coaching job in the National Football League, can we please let him keep this record? Please, I'm begging you. Jacoby Myers touchdown within the first 3 targets this week, please, against Carolina. Oh boy, that's going to hurt me.
I think our favorite players are both on the same team. That's pretty cool. Or Madre Stevenson, Tara, who's your guy that you just like love to or hate to love or love to hate?
Oh, my guy that I sing his praises. That's Daniel Jones for me. And it's purely because he reminds me of Eli Manning. I feel like I'm defending Eli Manning when I defend him. So that's 100% the reason.
That makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if you're trading for Daniel Jones here anytime soon there, Tara, but who's that player that you need to trade for this week?
I might be trading for Daniel Jones. I do start him quite a bit. So, but the player that I'm trading for is Julio Jones. It may seem a little counterintuitive because we have had legitimately nothing out of him. But, despite the fact that he is a brand name guy, that production has been so low that you might be able to get him on the cheap. Get him on the cheap, save him for the back half, and see if he can provide some value as Derrick Henry is out and they start to potentially lean more on the pass game. So they'll need those wide receivers, and if Julio gets back into the lineup within the next week or so, you can depend on him.
Major, who you want to get in your lineup? Who are you trading for today?
I'm going with Pat Fairmouth. We heard his name come up earlier in the show, and like I mentioned earlier in the show, tight ends are just not really doing anything this year. So, the coming off the last 2 games, he's had 11 receptions, 102 yards, and a TD. He had a really nice highlight catch in the back of the end zone, showing his pass catching skills. We all know he's probably the best blocker coming out in his draft. So look for him to do big things. It looked like Big Ben's starting to trust a little bit more.
I'm okay with that. I'm going to stick with Steeler Nation here for the guys I'm going to look to trade for. And I'm going to go with the wide receivers in Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. If you look at you can't win. I know you're supposed to win now before you can win later. I mean, keep your eye on the prize now, but I'm looking down the road here right now with these Steelers wide receivers. They have the projected 4th easiest schedule down the road in weeks 13 through 16, depending on when your playoffs start. I know there's that extra week thrown in there, so I might be throwing a lot of your leagues in a little bit of flux and a lot of confusion when the playoffs come rolling around. But listen, they've got the Ravens. The Ravens are 28th for fantasy for points to wide receivers. They've got the Vikings, who are the best of the 4 teams at 18. They've got the Titans, 24, and they got the Chiefs at 25. This is their schedule for your fantasy playoffs, depending where you want to go. Give me both those guys because I think they're going to pay dividends down the road. Now, we can't go anywhere without getting to Major's favorite part of the show. So, Major, kick us off with your FFIDP must-start players.
I'm going with CJ Mosley. He came back last week off of a hamstring and showed you why he's the man. Led the team in tackles with 10, And the Jets defense, they're going to be on the field a lot because that offense is just not very good. So he's going to have plenty of opportunity to put up great numbers. So look for CJ Mosley to have a big game for the rest of the season.
Tara, over to you.
For me, it is going to be Adrian Phillips. And I know it seems maybe like a gimme coming off of a big game where he had multiple interceptions, multiple tackles. I mean, all kinds of points scored, just fantastic. But the reason why I would be running that back is that New England is playing Carolina, and we do not know who is even going to be starting. And regardless, both of them, whether it's Sam Darnold, if he comes out of concussion protocol, or if it's PJ Walker, I am sure both of them will be throwing interceptions. I'm pretty confident on that. So I would expect another good week for Adrian Phillips, possibly some more interceptions.
And for me, I'm going to go to the dirty South here with the Dirty Birds himself. The combination of Dion Jones and a guy's name who I can't pronounce, but I'm going to say it anyway. Foyeside Olakun. And I'm going to talk about this. Dion Jones, 10 plus tackles in 4 of the last 5 games, 6 of 8 games this season. Olakun, 10 plus tackles in 4 of the last 5 games himself. Dating back to last year against the Saints, Jones had 16 combined tackles. Olakun had 19 combined tackles. I think they're going to find a way to meet Alvin Kamara in the backfield, the forefield. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I think Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are pretty much where this offense is going to go. Taysom Hill, if he's in there, he's probably going to be running it more than passing it. And the best part about all this is when you look at it, they, what was it? Hutchinson Community College alumni, junior college superstar, Alvin Kamara is going to be in the house for this one. And I can't wait to see him pay tribute to Major a little bit later in this game.
Yeah,
But
Tara,
for
why
me-
you didn't laugh at his junior college career? You didn't laugh at mine, but you let him get a pass.
I would have laughed, but quite frankly, I was looking ahead to the bold predictions to make sure that I wasn't sniped. So I might have missed what I was supposed to laugh at. Not going to lie.
She was too busy looking at my bold predictions, how awesome they were. Now, I see that we are going to – Tara and I are both going into the same game on this one. We're talking about totally different positions here. Tara, what's your bold prediction for week number 9?
Interesting. Yeah, something's got to give. I feel like one of us is going to get this right. Will both of us get this right? I don't know. But I feel like someone's getting a win. My bold prediction is Myles Gaskins. I'm going to stick with this trend of 20 or more fantasy points. And I do, in fact, feel like this is another bold one. But again, they're playing Houston. I'm feeling pretty confident about it. So yes, Myles Gaskins against Houston, solid game.
Major, how bold do you want to get this week? This looks pretty fresh.
I'm going pretty bold. I'm going AP is going to have 100 yards and TD fresh off the couch.
And I'm just going to assume that's I'm going to give you a little bit of break here. I'm going to call it 100 yards from scrimmage because it probably won't be very much in the passing game. So, but we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll give you the scrimmage yards total for Adrian Peterson this one.
Okay, whatever. What's your bold prediction? What do you got for the bold prediction?
Well, since I've been practicing this game, I'm going to stick with Tua Tagovailoa here, and I'm going to say that he hits over 25 fantasy points this week. And that's my bold prediction. I would not be surprised if he hit 30 fantasy points, but my bold prediction is 25. And I'm going to say Tua finishes in the top 5 amongst quarterbacks this week. And man, I really I think Will Fuller is going to go off for 100 plus and a touchdown. I think Devontae Parker is going to have 100 yards and a touchdown. I think even Myles Gaskins, maybe he doesn't get that running, but I think he's going to be effective in the pass game. I think that's going to be there. It's the Texans. I think they're going to come out flying. And I think this is not just a revenge game for Will Fuller. This is a revenge game, a frustration, a little bit of venting going to take place for Tua this week because I think he's heard the whole noise. He sat there with Brian Flores. Flores has been up front with him during the whole situation, whatever that means. Whether he has or not, I don't know. Maybe that's coaches speak. But you know what? The monkey is off his back, like Steve Young once said in the Super Bowl. It's not quite the Super Bowl for Tua, but it's got to feel pretty good to know the rest of the season the team's not trying to get rid of you. Now, in a couple of weeks when the season ends, that's another story. But right now, the team is going with you, and you get that opportunity to take it out on where they were trying to ship you. Or he could totally tank so Houston doesn't want him. That's an option out there too. That being said, Yeah. I just thought of that second scenario as I was doing my little spiel, and I was like, ooh, you know what? That might not be a bad idea. Tanking for Tua was a thing for the draft. Tua tanking is a way to avoid Houston. And with that being said, Tara, let the people know where they can find you heading into week 9.
Oh boy. You guys can find me at Fantasy Pros. I've got some videos coming out. I do a Sunday morning live there on TikTok as well. You can find me at Fantasy Alarm as well. A couple videos coming out. We do a live show, Thursday night pregame show. I don't know who will be co-hosting with me this week. That'll be interesting to see. And then also Awesemo as well. This is my second week with them, so you can catch me on doing a couple live shows with them. So yeah. And obviously, catch me here, my favorite place to be, with my favorite people in the world, who I love to poke fun at. I'm going to poke fun one more time. Will Fuller's not playing. It's not a revenge game. He's not practicing this week, so I don't think he's playing. I'm sorry.
Why you didn't say it before? Hey, Tara, you so wrong, dude. You could have told him that before. You waited till the end. He said his bold prediction, and you gave it to him.
Sorry.
He hasn't had a throw to Will Fuller all year anyway.
You're right. It's going to be the Waddle Parker show.
Yeah, Matt tries to lose every bold prediction. I think he's going to say at the end of the season, like, oh, yeah, whoever had the most wins is the loser. He's going to do that reverse thing. But,
lowest score wins in golf, baby. Lowest score wins in golf.
Right.
I feel like this one's pretty, very possible. So I think you had a good shot at adding a point this week. Do you have a point? If you're not, you got a good shot.
He doesn't.
You got it. We're going to get that one. That's my second bold prediction. Matt gets a win.
Hey. It all starts with one. Then it snowballs from there. We just need to get that first one under our belt, and the rest will be coming. Or I'll just get cocky and make it even bigger and better each and every week. That's a possibility, too. Not come close to... I'll be like Icarus, and I'll get too close to the sun. That's what's going to happen.
I have my little... I need to update my board to troll Matt. But yeah, you can find me every Sunday with my boy Nick on Fantasy Points, Extra Point Morning Show, talking player props, making you guys some money. Tune in.
And yeah, if you're looking for me, right here on the Vipers Network is where you find everything. Sometimes people invite me to their show. I go on, I guest, and that's all good and groovy. But if you're looking for me in particular, right here on the Vipers Network on YouTube. And of course, every Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, please join us as we preview the week to come there in fantasy football. With that all said, if you want to be smart like Tara and Major, make sure you head over to fantasypoints.com. Enter promo code 21Vipers10. Get 10% off that subscription right now. And wait, there's more. If you subscribe today, they have a little bit of a deal going on in which they've got like a half season cut in the price. You get the deal even better than ever right now. Plus, you get a kind of test drive before you purchase the full meal deal next year. So make sure you head over to fantasypoints.com.
For sure. Seriously, guys, we joke a lot because it's fun to do. But seriously, if you want to get ahead in fantasy, research is literally the most important part of it. You can listen to us. We're awesome. But you can also do your own research as well. And Fantasy Points is a great place to do it.
Absolutely. They got their predictions every week. And again, my favorite article every week is the Game Hub. And they do each preview for each game. Tom Broley, Joe Dolan, all these guys, they get together and they put together one article, Graham Barfield, and you get some of the greatest minds working on one article per game each and every week. Make sure to head over there. With that said, this has been the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast powered by Fantasy Points Media Group, episode number 99. That means number 100 is coming up next week. So stay tuned for that one. Till then, catch you later.